So thank you, Erica, for coming and sharing some of how you're using creative approaches to storytelling. Do you want to just introduce yourself first?
Yeah, no, well, great to be here, Catherine. Yeah, I'm Erica. I'm the city chaplain for older people in Southampton, and I run a wonderful charity with a great team called Caraway, and we resource the spiritual well-being of the older person across the city. And we do that with a whole group of Anna chaplains. We have 7 Anna chaplains working in Southampton, and storytelling is at the heart of everything that we do, which will warm your heart.
That's the right answer. Excellent, lovely. So do you want take us through? You've been talking to me about something that's been happening in your memory cafes.
Yeah.
Do you want to share some of the storying that's gone on there?
Yeah. Well, we've since the restrictions have lifted, after the pandemic. One of the key things that have happened in our city is there's been a real need to resource those living with dementia. And we've been able to host a series of memory cafes around the city, which we have new people coming, each week. There's a real need, and there's a real need to be able to connect with not just those living with dementia, with their carers, and enabling them to think about their own stories. And a wonderful way of doing that has been the training that I received with you of Out of the Box. I've got my box here with all the wonderful materials in there. And just a couple of weeks ago, I went to one of the larger memory cafes, and I told the same story 3 times to 3 different groups of people around a huge round table. So beautiful for Out of the Box with the round felt. And we told the starfish story where, there's a small child who goes on the beach and finds all these starfish, dying on the sand, and he just starts to throw them back into the sea. And there's that lovely kind of phrase about, the tide is coming out and the sun is rising, and you kind of get that feeling of these poor starfish. And then a grown-up comes along and says, "What are you doing?" And the child says, just very quietly, "When I'm saving these starfish." And the adult thinks that's very funny because there are so many and you can't possibly save them. And then you have that whole wondering. But what was really special on this occasion was that the response for the 3 different tables was so different. And I just caught up in other people's stories as they unfolded. So yes, we did talk about how each starfish matters. So each of us personally matter, and that did come out on each of the tables. But one table said, "But I love going to the seaside," and we have these whole stories about childhood seaside experiences. And they said, and I used to take my bucket and spade, so I was able to go into my box and get the bucket out, and we put that down on the story. And some people said, "Well, I just love swimming," so you'd take someone and you'd lie them in the sea. And then someone else said, "Well, we used to go rock crawling, so I found some little blue circles, and we put those down, and we gathered people round to look in the rock pools." And that was a very different story. But then on another table, there was one man who had been quite serious, and he said, "I don't think that story it's not how I see it." And it was a man with dementia. He said, "My friend used to go into space." And I wasn't sure whether he was making it up, but it really was a true thing. And he said, "I think these stars are stars in the sky. And and he asked me to put his friend near the stars. And he just then talked about his friend's experience of seeing the world from space and how amazing the stars are. So we started off with starfish in the sea, and we ended up with space. And it was so exciting.
Wow.
But it unpacked and opened up the possibility of other stories. And of course, then everyone else connected and conversations grew. Really special.
So they're not only the connection with the original story and the imagination that takes it off somewhere else, but actually the connection between people, the relationships that then build.
Yes, well, and another occasion in a different memory cafe, we talked to, I can't even remember what story it was now, but there was a child, and there was a woman with quite severe dementia, or moderate dementia, and it was just a way of opening up something in her life. And she said, I think those two people are twins. And there was nothing about twins in the story. And I just said, oh, tell me about the twins. She said, well, my twin was called Helen. And then she told me all about her relationship with her twin who had died many years ago. And it's only because we have got two people standing next to each other in this story, which was nothing to do with twins, but something about the story had built that connection and that love and taken her back in her mind. That was very precious too. So I think for people with dementia, you'll get the unexpected. So never expect a certain response in Out of the Box.
Good, great, because and we find that similar with children in schools. Actually, I've been interviewing people using Out of the Box in schools, and the imagination of the children to just go off anywhere and create any wonderful new story seems similar to some people who are living with dementia. That ability to play and to different realities and all sorts of things. But I'm really struck as well.
You have to take a deep breath yourself, don't you, and embrace it.
Absolutely.
Go with the flow.
Absolutely go with the flow. And that last lovely vignette that you told about the lady with her twin, I'm guessing that the atmosphere had been created where she felt safe and she felt listened to, and she felt that this was a space that she could reveal her heart and talk. And that's the key thing, isn't it? That underpins everything.
And I'm sure you find this, Catherine, but even though sometimes the background noise is more than you would like when you tell these stories, you can't choose the context. When you start the story, everyone is drawn in. And I know that's partly how you tell the story as well, but very few people kind of wander. And actually, often people who have been walking around the outside of the room will come and join in, because there's a sense of what is happening here, what has been told, and other people come and listen, and there's usually silence. But you do need to be flexible, because people with dementia, sometimes they will kind of ask a question as you're in the middle of telling the story, and I think you have to go with that. But there are ways of responding and then continuing.
Absolutely.
No, it's exciting and really powerful. It's a really helpful tool.
Well, thank you so much, Erica. It's been really interesting to listen to some of your experiences. Thank you.
Thank you.